When someone goes days without talking to you, your first instinct may be to reach out, ask questions, or demand answers. But constantly chasing someone who is emotionally unavailable only teaches them that they don't have to put in effort because you'll always be there. Instead of running after them, shift your focus back to yourself. Silence is not always rejection. Sometimes it's an opportunity to see who truly values your presence. The moment you stop begging for attention, you begin protecting your self-respect. Confidence grows when you refuse to force conversations that should happen naturally. A man who genuinely values you will notice your absence when you're no longer filling every empty space. Your energy becomes your greatest message. Invest in your goals, friendships, health, and happiness. People are naturally drawn to those who have a fulfilling life, instead of those who revolve around someone else's attention. When someone goes days without talking to you, it's easy to let your emotions take control. Your mind begins creating stories that may not even be true. You wonder if you said something wrong, if they've lost interest, or if someone else has taken your place. Those thoughts often lead to anxiety, and anxiety usually pushes people to chase reassurance instead of protecting their peace. You may feel tempted to send another text, make another call, or keep checking your phone every few minutes, hoping for a response that finally eases your mind. But every time you chase someone who is choosing distance, you slowly teach yourself that your emotional well-being depends on another person's attention. Real confidence begins when you realize that your value does not increase because someone finally replies to your message. A delayed response does not define your importance, your character, or your ability to be loved. Instead of spending your energy wondering why they haven't reached out, invest that same energy into yourself. Continue working toward your goals. Improve your skills. Spend meaningful time with friends and family. Exercise, read, learn something new, and build a life that feels rewarding, whether your phone buzzes or stays silent. The stronger your relationship with yourself becomes, the less power someone else's silence has over your emotions. People naturally notice those who carry themselves with confidence and emotional stability. When you stop chasing validation, you begin attracting genuine respect. Your calmness sends a stronger message than repeated attempts to gain someone's attention. It shows that you know your worth and refuse to abandon your self-respect just to keep someone interested. Emotional maturity is choosing peace over panic, patience over pressure, and self-respect over desperation. The moment you stop making someone else the center of your emotional world, you begin creating the kind of confidence that cannot be shaken by unanswered messages or temporary silence. When someone goes days without talking to you, it's easy to let your emotions take control. Your mind begins creating stories that may not even be true. You wonder if you said something wrong, if they've lost interest, or if someone else has taken your place. Those thoughts often lead to anxiety, and anxiety usually pushes people to chase reassurance instead of protecting their peace. You may feel tempted to send another text, make another call, or keep checking your phone every few minutes, hoping for a response that finally eases your mind. But every time you chase someone who is choosing distance, you slowly teach yourself that your emotional well-being depends on another person's attention. Real confidence begins when you realize that your value does not increase because someone finally replies to your message. A delayed response does not define your importance, your character, or your ability to be loved. Instead of spending your energy wondering why they haven't reached out, invest that same energy into yourself. Continue working toward your goals. Improve your skills. Spend meaningful time with friends and family. Exercise, read, learn something new, and build a life that feels rewarding, whether your phone buzzes or stays silent. The stronger your relationship with yourself becomes, the less power someone else's silence has over your emotions. People naturally notice those who carry themselves with confidence and emotional stability. When you stop chasing validation, you begin attracting genuine respect. Your calmness sends a stronger message than repeated attempts to gain someone's attention. It shows that you know your worth and refuse to abandon your self-respect just to keep someone interested. Emotional maturity is choosing peace over panic, patience over pressure, and self-respect over desperation. The moment you stop making someone else the center of your emotional world, you begin creating the kind of confidence that cannot be shaken by unanswered messages or temporary silence. One of the most powerful things you can do when a man goes days without talking to you is to build a life that doesn't revolve around waiting for his next message. Too many people unknowingly place their happiness in someone else's hands, allowing a phone notification to determine whether they feel excited, anxious, or disappointed. The problem with this mindset is that it gives another person control over your emotional state. The moment your peace depends on someone else's consistency, you begin losing sight of your own dreams, priorities, and personal growth. Your life becomes centered on what they are doing instead of what you could be accomplishing. Imagine how much time is wasted checking your phone, rereading old conversations, wondering why they haven't responded, or creating imaginary scenarios in your mind. Those hours could be invested in something that actually improves your future. Learn a new skill that advances your career. Start exercising and become physically stronger. Read books that expand your knowledge. Take a class you've always wanted to try. Spend quality time with family members who genuinely appreciate you. Reconnect with supportive friends. Explore hobbies that make you feel alive. Every moment you invest in yourself becomes a reminder that your life has purpose far beyond any single relationship. There is something incredibly attractive about a person who has goals, passions, and confidence that exist independently of anyone else's attention. When your schedule is filled with meaningful activities, you stop obsessing over delayed replies because your life is already full. You begin responding to messages when it fits into your day instead of waiting desperately for them to arrive. That emotional independence changes the way you carry yourself, speak, and make decisions. Confidence cannot be faked. It naturally develops when you know that your happiness comes from within rather than from another person's validation. Ironically, people often become more curious about those who are genuinely living fulfilling lives. They notice the positive energy, the confidence, and the sense of purpose. Whether he eventually reaches out or not becomes less important because you've already gained something far more valuable. You've built a version of yourself that feels complete, motivated, and emotionally secure. Instead of waiting for someone else to make your life exciting, you become the person who creates your own happiness. And that is a kind of strength that no silence can ever take away. One of the clearest signs of self-respect is refusing to reward inconsistent communication. Many people become so relieved when someone finally reaches out after disappearing for days that they immediately respond with excitement, long conversations, and unlimited attention. While that reaction is understandable, it can unintentionally send the message that disappearing has no consequences. If someone learns they can ignore you, return whenever it suits them, and still receive the same level of affection, they have little reason to change their behavior. People often repeat the patterns that continue to work in their favor. This doesn't mean you should respond with anger, revenge, or silent treatment. Emotional maturity isn't about punishing someone. It's about protecting your standards. Healthy relationships are built on consistency, reliability, and mutual respect. When communication becomes unpredictable, it creates uncertainty, and uncertainty often leads to unnecessary stress and emotional confusion. You deserve a relationship where effort flows naturally from both sides, not one where you motes. We're constantly wondering when the next message will arrive or whether we're important enough to be remembered. Instead of reacting emotionally the moment they come back, take time to observe their actions. Are they genuinely making an effort to reconnect? Or are they simply reaching out because they're bored, lonely, or looking for temporary attention. Consistency is built over time, not through one conversation or one apology. Anyone can send a message after days of silence, but real commitment is shown by someone who continues to communicate, follows through on their words, and makes you feel valued without forcing you to question their intentions. Holding yourself to higher standards doesn't make you difficult or demanding. It simply shows that you understand your worth and refuse to settle for less than you deserve. Respecting yourself means expecting the same level of consideration that you willingly offer others. The people who truly value your presence won't see your standards as a burden. They'll see them as a reflection of healthy boundaries. And if someone walks away because you expect consistency, they've revealed that they were never prepared to give you the kind of relationship you were hoping for. The right person won't be intimidated by your self-respect. They'll appreciate it and willingly meet you with the same level of effort, honesty, and care. One of the most important lessons you can learn in any relationship is to pay more attention to actions than to excuses. Words can sound convincing, promises can feel comforting, and apologies can temporarily ease your doubts, but consistent behavior always tells the real story. Anyone can say they're busy, overwhelmed, or planning to reach out later. While life does become demanding at times, genuine interest has a way of showing itself through consistent effort. People naturally make time for the things and the people that truly matter to them. It may not always happen exactly when you expect, but real intention is reflected in repeated actions, not occasional explanations. Many people stay emotionally attached because they fall in love with potential instead of reality. They focus on what someone says they will do rather than what they have consistently done. They replay sweet conversations, hold on to future promises, and convince themselves that things will eventually change. Meanwhile, weeks or even months pass with the same disappointing patterns repeating over and over again. This cycle creates false hope, making it difficult to recognize that the relationship is being sustained by expectations rather than genuine commitment. Emotional maturity begins when you stop making decisions based on possibilities and start evaluating what is actually happening in front of you. Instead of asking yourself how someone feels, ask yourself how they behave. Do they communicate consistently? Do they keep their promises? Do they check in because they genuinely care, or only when it's convenient for them? Do their actions make you feel secure, respected, and appreciated? Or do they leave you constantly questioning where you stand? The answers to those questions reveal far more than any romantic words ever could. Consistency creates trust, while inconsistency creates confusion, and confusion should never be mistaken for love. The moment you begin believing actions instead of excuses, you take back control of your emotions. You stop chasing people who only offer temporary attention and start recognizing the difference between someone who truly values you and someone who simply enjoys having access to you. This shift in perspective protects your heart from unnecessary disappointment and helps you invest your time and energy in relationships that are built on honesty, effort, and mutual respect. When you expect actions to match words, you raise the standard for how others treat you. And you also remind yourself that genuine love is demonstrated through consistent behavior, not endless explanations. The most important truth to remember when someone goes days without talking to you is that your worth has never been measured by another person's attention. Too often, people begin questioning their value the moment communication becomes inconsistent. They wonder if they are attractive enough, interesting enough, or lovable enough. They replay every conversation, searching for mistakes that might explain the silence. In reality, another person's behavior often reflects their own priorities, emotional readiness, or communication style far more than it reflects your value as a human being. Allowing someone else's silence to define your confidence gives them power they were never meant to have. Your value existed long before this person entered your life, and it will continue to exist regardless of whether they choose to stay or walk away. The strongest people understand that self-worth is built from within. It comes from the way you treat yourself, the standards you maintain, the goals you pursue, and the character you display every day. When you genuinely appreciate who you are, you stop begging for the bare minimum because you know that respect, honesty, and consistent communication are not luxuries. They are the foundation of any healthy relationship. Instead of asking, "Why hasn't he texted me?" begin asking yourself more empowering questions. Am I happy with the effort I'm receiving? Does this relationship bring me peace or constant anxiety? Am I compromising my standards just to keep someone interested? Those questions shift your focus away from seeking approval and toward protecting your emotional well-being. The healthiest relationships are not built on fear of losing someone. They are built on mutual appreciation, trust, and the willingness of two people to consistently choose each other without being forced. Ironically, when you stop making someone else's attention the center of your world, you become emotionally stronger and more attractive. Confidence has a quiet power that cannot be manufactured. It comes from knowing that your happiness is not dependent on one person's decisions. Whether he reaches out tomorrow, next week, or never at all, your life continues moving forward with purpose. You continue growing, learning, achieving, and becoming the best version of yourself. That mindset frees you from emotional dependence and allows you to welcome only those who genuinely appreciate your presence. At the end of the day, the greatest victory is not making someone miss you. It is becoming someone who never loses themselves while waiting for someone else to recognize their worth.